Welcome to the Global Me podcast, your gateway to a world without borders. I'm your co-host, JC Prieto-Williams, principal at Williams Advisors International.
Whether you're seeking a new home abroad, exploring golden visas, or investing in global real estate, we bring you the insights to make it happen. I'm Shannon McDonald, founder of McDonald Coaching, where I specialize in expat and relocation coaching.
With a special focus on the US, especially Texas, we also dive into top destinations like Canada, Mexico, Costa Rica, Panama, Portugal, Spain, the UK, and the UAE.
Remember, if you want us to help you explore a new destination, we'll make it happen. So get ready to unlock opportunities and design your ideal global lifestyle.
Let's dive right in.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to a new episode of the Global Me podcast. As always, Shannon, McDonald, and I are always eager to inform you about the great state of Texas and what you could do here and how your lifestyle will change in the future. And one of the big values that I think we bring are excellent hosts and also other participants to the dialogue. Today, we have the pleasure of welcoming Magdalena Blanco, who is an expert consultant for small-sized businesses to grow and expand in Texas. Magdalena has a long history of supporting companies through her own private practice, but also through different organizations as the Better Business Bureau, for example. But we'll get more into her background as we can explore through different questions. Today, I think we're going to explore not only how to do business here, but also the opportunities for large companies, but mostly for startups and small and medium-sized businesses. So Magdalena, thank you so much for being here. Shannon, before we turn it over, do you have any welcome remarks today?
No, I just wanted to say thank you to Magdalena for being our first guest on our podcast.
Yay!
We really appreciate it. And I was saying to her earlier, it's nice to have someone other than just the two of us for a change, just rambling on, and we'll get an expert in here. So I'm really looking forward to what you have to say.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, JC and Shannon, for the warm welcome. To those that are listening, my name is Magdalena Blanco. I'm the president and chief consultant of BPM Consulting. That is my own firm. We specialize in strengthening small and medium-sized businesses through strategic operations, scaling models, and market-aligned growth. And my background spans nearly 2 decades in Texas government, nonprofit, and economic development leadership, really guiding multi-million-dollar initiatives, managing federal funding programs, driving sustainable growth for mission-driven organizations, as JC mentioned, like the Better Business Bureau and other emerging enterprises. But here's the thing I wanted to share with everyone. This chapter of my life didn't unfold the way I planned, and kind of to our audience, and talking to Shannon and JC just before we kicked off the podcast, is that, you know, in fact, like many entrepreneur stories, it didn't happen when I expected it to happen. You know, I became an entrepreneur when I least expected. I stepped into kind of this full-time consulting after years of helping others kind of build their resilient systems, and realized, you know what, it's time to do the same for myself. And so if you're listening and you're excited, you're here, you're in Texas, and you're now trying to kind of figure out, what is it that I want to do? Take your passion, see if building a business is something that's going to be it's going to be a fit for you. And that's what I did. A passion of mine has always been kind of supporting that small, medium-sized businesses. You know, they are the heartbeat of our economy. You know, they're nimble, they're inventive, and they're full of grit. So my goal is to kind of help and become stronger, you know, help businesses become stronger, grow, scale, really align with what their mission or their excitement is. Maybe it's not just necessarily growing in revenue, but it may be growing in social capital, doing, returning to the community, returning back to the community. I can tell you that one of my key lessons that I've learned is that diversification is everything. Whether you're a retail shop, a service provider, or a solopreneur, creating an educational product, a digital tool, or a new customer pathway can help you reach a completely new audience. And so I think JC and Shannon, because that's something that I'm doing today, being here on the podcast and just announcing my business, but also to be able to talk a little bit about what's going on in Texas and how businesses are thriving, especially the small, medium-sized businesses.
Awesome. So, I mean, we've Shannon and I have discussed on the previous episode on Texas, right? And sort of like this miracle of Texas, right? I'm just coming from an event hosted by the Texas Economic Development Corporation and the governor's office. And everybody was talking about the resiliency of Texas and how we coming to get out of the all these downturns of the economy much faster than many other states, and that's a lot because of diversification, right? The economy is not only oil and gas, as most people might think, but it's really a diversified economy, from healthcare to electronics to medical device manufacturing to obviously technology here in Austin, and now the big financial services industry up in Dallas, space exploration with all everything that's happening down in south part of the state. So one of the things that that I wanted to kind of touch on is where's the opportunity for us, the little guys, right? Where can the consultant, where can the designer, where can the small shop take opportunity? Because like I was talking to Shannon, it's like, if you want to open a business, might as well do it in Texas, right? This is the place. But obviously there is a maze to go through and the challenges. So Magdalena, what do you think, first of all, are the big challenges right now for the small, medium-sized businesses, either that are already operating and they want to scale, or for those that are looking into a new business?
Yeah, I think that it always comes back to network. Depending on the industry that you're in and the requirements that you're going to need to start up your business, you may need brick and mortar, you may need equipment, you may need capital, or you're doing something similar to what I'm doing, right? The consulting, where it's really having conversation with the network, and there's little investment that's really needed. So it depends on where you are in your spectrum. But let me give you a little bit of data regarding where we are with small businesses in Texas. And this is where I think it makes it not so much a challenge, but really the opportunity for any type of business, any industry to kind of flourish. Texas has, and for many years, has had a very strong business identity. And I think that's the pull. That's what really brings those entrepreneurs to Texas. It's become a national powerhouse. And according to the U.S. Small Business Administration, there are over 3.2 million small businesses in Texas. I'll say it again, 3.2 million small businesses in Texas. That's 99.8% of all businesses in the state. And they employ nearly 4.9 million Texans. So it's not just impressive, it's foundational. There is a lot of room for growth for any type of industry in Texas. It's great for the storefronts and startups, but also knowing that, this is the small business community is really the backbone of our economy. And Texas has that favorable market. So while the headlines, as you were saying, JC, headlines are always about the Teslas or the Oracles relocating to the Lone Star State, the real impact comes from these mom and pop shops, these tech founders. You're going to see that vary between the larger cities. Austin is, been coined uh, the the Silicon Valley of Texas. It's the Hill Country. It's the tech hub for Texas, and Dallas is the financial hub for the state. But there is a lot of great opportunity out there, and so these small businesses that are developing, it doesn't take a whole lot. It really is pretty simple. You have an idea, you get out into your community, you start networking and having conversation, and before you know it, you're going to meet several people that are either in the same industry as you are, um, or they're going to connect you with somebody that is. And that's kind of the key to success, is being able to get into all of these different organizations. As you mentioned, TEDC is a great organization to really understand what's going on economic development wise at the local level. They're not just always focused on the large companies, they are focused on the small companies. What we always refer to as kind of the feeder fish, right? These large companies, they need other businesses to be able to develop, either develop the equipment, develop parts, provide services, um, to feed a larger, construct of work that may be undergoing by those larger businesses. Understanding kind of that full ecosystem and life cycle of a business, from formation and compliance, customer acquisition to financial planning, and then sustainable scaling. In Texas, it's favorable. It's an easy thing to do. It's got a pro business climate, no state income tax, access to diverse markets and talent, and then some of the best places to live, among the U.S. And I think, with all of that, that's really what gets people excited about. You know what? Being an entrepreneur in Texas is not as difficult as what may be out there, and in other states. There are a lot of favorable, aspects to being an entrepreneur in this state.
So interesting. And I'm wondering, what do you see culturally that makes Texas different and favorable for entrepreneurs starting a business?
So I can tell you, I can speak from personal experience being a Latina in Texas, and having migrated myself from California. You know, culturally, we are a very diverse state. We hit the entire spectrum. We have people from the Middle East, we have people from Asia, we have people from the Latin Americas. We It is a very diverse environment. Because of that, and because people have migrated here, that also makes our workforce and talent pool very diverse. And the the other component is that, and I think JC, you and I were talking about this a couple weeks ago, is the Southern charm. No one really talks about that, or they come here and they realize, like, hey, people are really friendly, and the way they speak and the way that they kind of navigate you and try to assist you. Um, Texas it boasts that, it really does, and it is this Southern charm of just helping your neighbor, helping one another, figuring out how you can, collaborate on activities. But it really, even though you're in a competitive space, obviously that's what business is, right? We're going to have competitors. Culturally, I think that the state, from a business perspective, is very accepting, welcoming, inclusive, and then we have that diversity that occurs among our talent pool.
Mm-hmm. It's really interesting talking about, how friendly and welcoming Texans are. I've said to JC on numerous occasions, I'm Canadian, and
Okay.
Canadians are known to be very friendly and welcoming
Yes.
also. But I have to say, I would put Texans above Canadians in that regard. I find that people here are just so willing to help and neighborly and friendly. And I mean, I've never known as many neighbors as I do living here in my life. So it's I agree with you on
That's
everything you said there.
wonderful.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. And so when you also mentioned, the strong talent pipeline and the strong workforce we have here. Do you think that that is sustainable, and is Texas doing enough as a state to keep fostering that development of people who are here or incoming?
I think so. I think again that diversity, right?
Mm-hmm.
We've had a, a huge boom in businesses that have either relocated to Texas again because the state is really driving those incentives, and so we see a lot of that in the news. You'll see it in Site Selection magazine that Texas just hooked another big fish, as we call.
Mm-hmm.
But with doing that, we're also getting the attention of those small, medium-sized businesses that are coming. They're seeing the potential that Texas has from a resource capacity, from a talent pool capacity, the housing market. All of these things come into play when a business is flourishing, has staff, has a talent pool, wants to see their growth in their revenue numbers. All of those components start to become really important for that business owner as far as where they're going to be relocating to. And so I can give you a few data points to kind of help with that. And it's that with Texas isn't just a state, right? This is how we see ourselves. It's that we're a launch pad. We've been named #1 in business climate in the US for the 2 consecutive years in Site Selection magazine. But I can tell you that this has been something that the state has boasts for probably 10 years. It's been that long. I have some friends that work in the governor's office directly, and this is something that they really stand behind. And it's that pro-business environment. Everyone's moving in. The startups, it's been massive, especially in tech. But we have 2.9 million active business entities. That was a growth, and that's just as of January this year. That's a growth of 125,000 from the previous year. So either Texas is marketing itself really well, or the word has gotten out that this is just a really great environment to come to.
Yeah. And with
Okay.
that migration, are you seeing, sorry, JC, I'll let you speak soon. Are you seeing any trends emerging? Any new industries entering the market? Anything you're noticing?
I think we're going to see a bigger push on our financial services industry.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to do a lot with what's occurring in Dallas currently, with it becoming kind of this second New York City, Wall Street of the South hub. I think we're going to see an increase there.
No, totally. And I think in terms of those trends, you also see healthcare being an issue. We have, given the relative affordability in certain secondary towns and cities in Texas, you see people kind of moving out of the big cities, going out, especially all the boomer generations that are getting empty nesters or kind of going to more affordable places. You have, all this new sort of emerging service industry around healthcare and other things. Retail seems to be something that it's been, kind of popping up because you have these new centers of population growth, right? And so home builders are working as fast as they can, but people can only watch just in so much Netflix. They need to go out and be out and about, and so you see commercial real estate being a thing. So if you're a shop, a retailer, you're services in terms of restaurants or coffee shops, if you like yoga, like some of the people that I've kind of worked with in the past few months have done either opening up. I got a pizza parlor. I got a yoga studio. I had a retailer for pet goods. and accessories and services around pets. Um, so I think there is definitely a niches for people to participate in the economy. The other part of it is, all the professionals, right? I deal with, designers and architects and such, and so you see a lot of real estate industry development. So all those folks that are willing to do like outsourcing jobs for larger firms is also a thing, right? So I think it's a great opportunity to be creative and to put yourself out there. I mean, I even have a friend of ours that they do organizing. They organize their people's pantry and people's closets and garage, but
Oh,
but
yeah.
but I mean they charge like $5,000 to organize your house, right? And you're like, man, that's what my wife puts me to do every Sunday, right? And so it's like it's incredible, like all the different things that you could find. So I think in terms of specific businesses, I think there's definitely some, but again, you have to have, you have to have cash, right? You have to have a fund to go through that first stage of setting up a business or start to grow a business, so you don't run out of time. And I think that's one of the things that I've seen with smaller businesses is they throw everything at the beginning, right? That not necessarily is required to invest in, right? They're thinking about a huge office, or they're spending a lot of money in certain things that they could be holding off until you get your first client, your second client, and then those clients pay for certain operational expenses, right? Not and also the other thing is not spend so much time in the planning. Planning is great and super needed, right? But you don't want to get analysis paralysis, right? You got to get out there and start doing, and always like Magdalena said, networking, right? We have a great friendly network of people that are potential new customers, right? And people that will help you. And this is how this podcast came about, right? It's about a network, people looking to complement what everybody does, and also, build relationships and friendships along the way.
Absolutely. I think that hits it right on, is that there there's an endless possibility as people start to get busier. And I think in this post-COVID, you made me think of something. This post-COVID space, people are now returning to office. People are going to start getting busy again. People are not going to have the time to care for things that they were taking care of while they were working, remotely from home. And so that may be another area of services that it's not in your typical service space, but like you said, the organization of your home or your office space, and and having that become a successful business for you. I think that that's you have those possibilities, and then scalability. Obviously, start out small. Start out with you have a small plan, but don't have it fully fleshed out, because you're going to spend a lot of time fleshing that out versus like focusing on doing the networking, getting out there, having people understand what it is that you can do, and you can fine tune that as you go, and as you start to grow, and as you start to bring in clients. So, yeah, really great points.
Yeah, I love that advice. And I know that personally, I have always fallen more in the category of make sure everything's perfect before putting something out there. And so that's something I've been working on really in the past year or two, is just letting things evolve as they evolve, and being okay with a little bit of imperfection and trial and error. And I think that's
Yeah.
how businesses are made. And I love something you said at the beginning of our conversation about finding what you're passionate about and turning that into a business. And I think that's amazing advice. And I was wondering if you had anything else to add on that. What advice would you have to someone who's looking to start a business in Texas and wanting to pursue something they're very passionate about?
Dig deep. Look internally at what it is that your particular skill set or if you've been in the workforce and there's, a particular area that you've really honed in on, I can tell you, I love strategy work. I love sitting with an executive team and just thinking of endless possibilities all day long. Like that's a fun space for me. So if that resonates with you and that's a space that you would love to get into, working with executives and organizations to help them figure out what their strategy is going to be for the next 3-5 years. We can even go as far out as 10, 15, 20 years. Put the pedal to the metal, go for it. Why not? Another passion of mine is travel. I love to travel. And JC, you and I were talking about this, and I've been to 32 countries so far. And so part of what I do, which I don't advertise all the time, but it's on social media, is my travel blog and just talking about where I've traveled, what I do, having the itinerary out there. That's more of like the fun activities, but people come to me for advice all the time. And so that's where maybe you start to, you want to do tourism for people. Let's say that you've just moved to Texas. Your spouse may be running a business in Texas. And now it's like, well, what do I do? Well, now you can become the expert of what's going on in Texas and bring people from your home country or your hometown to come and visit and tour them and do maybe that excites you. And so that's a passion that you could turn into a real possibility for yourself and a business. So I say dig deep, it's there, you have it, that it's what it is, and then we just bring it to the forefront and make it reality.
Yeah, I love that. What's your
Yep.
Instagram? Where can people find you?
Voyaging
We'll
for
put it in the
two.
show notes.
Yeah, we'll put it
Sure,
in the
yeah,
notes.
yeah. It's called Voyaging for Two. And
Oh,
it's
I
just
love
my
it.
husband and I, and where we've traveled and share our pictures and our blog. But yeah, it's a fun to do, and we love it. I mean, and we love doing the travel. So why not expose others that you can travel on a budget, and you can have an amazing time exploring new cultures and new identities.
Yep. I was listening to one of these interviews with famous startup companies, right? And they were saying, well, the first thing you need to do is take that passion and turn it into a product, right?
Yeah.
Turn it into a product or service that you could sell, right? Something that's going to satisfy a need, right? Um, and then you have to build a company to sell that product, right? And then the third leg is then you got to promote the company and the product, right? So everybody knows about it. So those are, I think, very simple milestones, but it's like your passion, create a product, build a company to be able to sell that product, right? And then promote the heck out of it, right? And so social media today, I mean, it works for dentists, it works for retailers, it works for consultants, it works for everybody. So I think that's the other thing that you cannot be shy about, to go out there and put yourself, let everybody know what you're doing, right?
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
other thing, right? Just tell every single person what you're doing, right? Because
Yeah.
they need to kind of see you as whatever it is that you're going to be an expert on.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And I think there's also, speaking of that, there's opportunity for people to kind of slide in there and help other people grow their businesses. So for an example, in coaching, I've noticed, I'm a coach, but I get approached all the time by people who want to help me grow my business or manage my social media or, LinkedIn profile optimization, which is not so much of a thing now. I think people use Chat GPT for that. But there's a whole another way that you can kind of piggyback on other people's businesses if you have a skill set and an interest in doing that, because I know some people don't want to spend time promoting their businesses. It's time consuming. You have to be really,
it's so essential, right?
it's so essential,
So
but you have to be so tech. You have to know how to use all these things, and now there's TikTok and Instagram and YouTube, and you have to be present on all these things. And so I think that sometimes it's nice to, if somebody is good at that, then you can hand it over to them and let them do a majority of that, so you can focus on what you do best.
And I say start again, the scalability. Don't try to go hit all of the platforms at once. Start with one. If you're really familiar with Facebook, start with Facebook. If you're really familiar with Snapchat, Snapchat is actually changed. They're starting to bring in more of the promotional advertisements and things of that nature. So that platform's changing. Instagram is a really great one. So start with one, get comfortable with it, get familiar with it, and then start moving into the others. And then there are platforms out there that will also, you can schedule out. So you could be connected to all, Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat, all of that, Facebook. You can connect them all under one platform, and so then that will, you can put your post out, and it'll just schedule it out for you. So as you start to grow and you start to develop a little bit more of your skill set in that area, if you're wanting to do it yourself, that's my recommendation. But you're right, Shannon. If it's like not your skill set, know your limitations, hire a professional to go out and do that for you.
Yeah, and I think also finding out where your audience is. So if you pick that one platform, maybe if your audience hangs out on Facebook, that's the one you should try to focus on. Or if your audience is younger, then you don't want to be maybe on Facebook so much. But yeah, it's definitely utilizing your time in the best way.
Absolutely.
Yep. So to that, I think you also, but again, you're your best promoter, right? Overall, I mean, these experts are good at the technique, right? Doing the marketing, the website. But at the end, you're the best advocate, the best salesperson, the best person to sell your business. And nothing happens if you don't sell, right? So you have to sell. I mean, everything else will fall into place because sales brings revenue. Revenue means investing in other areas. So my recommendation is that as you kind of find the right person to do the thing, right? You dedicate on promoting the brand of your own brand, right? Be out there, do little, comments on LinkedIn about the industry that you follow or that you participate in. Tell everybody what you're doing, and always have like a 1 minute pitch, right? Always handy, right? You never know who you're going to meet in the supermarket or in the next dinner, or when they say, "What do you do?" You have to be able to kind of just say what you do, like in 30 seconds, right? Your elevator pitch.
Right.
Having that pretty well honed in and clearly kind of, clear is going to be key, right? Because then it's going to be easy for you to kind of continuously just repeat the same thing. People are going to kind of identify with that. And when the need arises, it's like, oh, this person knows about, that particular.
Absolutely.
So, Shannon, so what do you think? What did you take from this conversation? What would be your top three sort of takeaways?
Well, I think that so many takeaways, but I think just the fact that Texas is such a welcoming place, both culturally and business wise. I loved a lot of what Magdalena had to say about pursuing, your passion and turning it into a business and how to go about promoting that. What else? What about you, JC?
Well, one of the things that I would like to kind of highlight is that that anyone could open an LLC and start a business. It doesn't matter if you're from the state, out of the country, you could open a business, right? Those are my bread and butter for, my clients are foreign. They come in, we help them set up their LLC, set up their business. So that is no problem, right? You could be here permanently, on occasion, temporarily. You could not even be in the country, right? So that's one thing. But definitely, I think turning a passion into a business, and getting the help that you need for creating the company to sell that vision and to promote that vision, I think would be the big takeaways. And Magdalena, we'll leave it up to you to kind of close it off and give us the 1, 2, 3 for doing business in Texas as a small business.
I think you hit it, both of you, talking about, it's extremely easy to go down to the Secretary of State's office. Actually, we now do that online, but go to the Secretary of State's office, file your paperwork for your LLC, if that's the structure that you would like, file with the IRS so that you have your tax ID number, and you're essentially ready to go. And you have your, as you referenced, JC, your three-legged stool, your passion. You build you build a little bit of your business, right? Because you've got to be able to get an understanding of what that is, and then you're promoting it. Get out there. You've got the right landscape for doing that in Texas, and then talk until you can't talk anymore about how excited you are about what it is that you're doing. Let everybody know. I love the whole, in the grocery store, you're absolutely right. You actually never know. You could be in an Uber ride and talking to somebody and you're excited about it, but use every opportunity to kind of be the testing ground as well. And that's how you get better at your elevator pitch, at you speaking about what it is that your business is going to be doing. And then whether you're just dreaming up your idea or looking to grow your revenue, remember, timing isn't everything, but readiness is. So right. Texas is ready for everybody. Texas is ready for you.
I love Excellent. That. I'm going to take some of this. I'm going to apply it this week. I'm going to start talking to people more about my business and what I'm doing.
Yep.
You've inspired
me. Yeah. People love dealing with people, with good people, right? Yes. I mean, they might like a business plan, but they get excited when you're excited about it, right? And so I think that's the key, right? And that's a great branding component there.
Well, this has been great. Thank you so much, Magdalena. We really appreciate it. Again, thank you for being our first guest. Really enjoyed our conversation. I feel like we might have to have you back at some point to get into some of the other questions that I had that I didn't get to ask, but maybe that's going to be part 2.
Absolutely. What an honor. Thank you both very much. I am very humbly appreciative of being able to come on your podcast, be your first guest speaker, and I look forward to coming back, and yes, let's get into some more of the details.
Great, and we'll definitely add your contact information in the notes so that people know where they can find you.
Okay, wonderful.
Great.
Definitely. Thank you very much, Magdalena. It was great. We'll talk soon. And to everybody listening, thank you again for another episode of the Global Me podcast. And we look forward to seeing you again next week.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That's a wrap of another episode of the Global Me podcast.
If you enjoyed the show, don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with fellow global explorers.
Connect with us on social media and let us know where your global journey is taking you next. We might even invite you to the show to share your stories.
Until next time, keep dreaming, keep exploring, and keep creating your best global life.